This underground sprinkler pipe was broken and shattered, and it now has a gap here. So how do you repair this type of underground sprinkler line? You repair it with this. This is a PVC union, and I'm going to show you how to make this repair, and it's very quick and easy, but make sure you watch to the end. There is a number of steps that if you're not careful here, you're going to end up with a leak. So in the end, you're looking for a solution that's going to look similar to this, with the union here in the middle of your pipe, and then we're going to show you how to measure it and connect it all on there and adjust it properly so that it's nice and tight and sealed and that you will never have a leak. So this is what a PVC union looks like. Now if you look closely here, it's threaded on both sides. It's threaded here, and it's also threaded on this side. And the way these couplers work is they unscrew apart like this into two separate halves. You can see this side has the gasket and this side just has a flat edge. So when you screw it together, it brings the left side and the right side together tightly so that there'll be no movement at all and they'll be sealed, and that's how it creates that seal for you. So you just have to remember that going into this side and going into this side, you're going to need a male component attached to your pipe on either end of that gap. And the reason why these are threaded is so that it buys you that extra little bit of adjustment. So right before you tighten this big one here, and you can adjust these forward or backwards on that male thread that goes on the end of the pipe, and I'll show you that. So this male coupler adapter goes right on the end of your pipe, and he'll screw into the union. So that's how the attachment is made. And then likewise on the other side, this male adapter will screw into here too. But in actuality, remember, the pipe is going to be fixed. So it's these two sections of the union that are actually going to screw onto the male adapter, and then they'll tighten together in the middle. Now I always like to scoop out as much dirt as I can from around the repair area and scoop it out from underneath as well, give us a nice access all around it. This is our little Milwaukee cutoff tool. So you want to make that as perpendicular of a cut as you can so that when you put the coupler on there, it goes straight in there. Now every time you cut a pipe, you need to deburr it. On the outside, I like to chamfer it a little bit difficult on this tight spot, but you just want to pull on there and take you several iterations to get the end. And then you also flip it around and go this way on the inside to deburr the inside of it. Some people also do this with sandpaper. Now I like to take sandpaper and clean these ends off really good before we start cementing. Because we found more cracks on the bottom of the sprinkler pipe, guess what, folks? We had to cut off more of the pipe, and now we have a bigger gap. So now we have to reduce that gap by grafting in a small section of new pipe before we can cement in the union into place. Now I like to pre-wrap my male adapters before I cement them on. You always wrap the tape around clockwise from looking above, looking down into the opening. And since I'm using the OD fast tape, I don't really have to do a whole lot of turns. I usually do 2 at the most, because this is a much thicker tape. See? That way you're all ready to go. Okay, so now to build up our little sections of pipe that we're going to graft into place, we want to cement this couple onto there, and then make about an inch or so piece of pipe here, and then we'll put the male adapter and cement him onto the other end there. And this will complete the first end, and we'll do sort of a east meets west in order to shorten the gap of that pipe down on the ground. After you've cleaned off all of the components where they're going to cement, you then get your primer, and we're going to do the inside of this couple, and then we're going to do the outside of the pipe. And then while the primer is still wet is when you have to do this part. And then cement around the pipe there. And push in as far as you can and turn 90 degrees and hold it. You want to hold it for several seconds until it grabs. If you don't push it in and turn it 90 degrees and hold it, then what's going to happen is the pressure from the cement is going to force the piece off and you'll have leaks. I've seen plumbers get called back because they were sloppy and didn't do that. Now in order to leave just a little space on the pipe there and then let the pipe go inside, I'll make the line right there. That's where I want to make the cut on the pipe. See that? Makes a perfectly clean cut. That's why I love this tool. So because this Milwaukee PVC cutoff tool does such a great job cutting through this pipe and it's nice and clean, you don't even need to deburr afterwards. But don't use this tool on the old pipe because it will crack it. So now here you can see that's what it's going to look like. It'll come down to about there. Go ahead and put the primer on the pipe, and we'll put the primer inside the fitting. Make sure it's nice and in there good. And then while it's still wet, we'll put the cement inside there. And we'll put the cement on here. Come on, get in there now. Get in there. There we go. Turn it in 90 degrees and hold it.
Some people think the primer is there to clean the pipes, but it's really there to get the plastic softer.
And so there's our extension part completed. Okay, so now we're going to prime the pipe. Gotta get under it real good there. And we're also going to prime the part where it's going to fit in. Then while the primer is still wet, we go ahead and get the cement on there and get it in there really good too. Let's get it onto the pipe there and twist and hold. There, just get it on there. Make sure you're holding it in place for several seconds until the cement dries, because you don't want it to push it back out that way. That's what will happen if you don't hold it down. So now we have reduced our gap. So if you're clever enough and you think things through like we did here, and remember this is going to go on here, you only needed to do the one extension on this side just to close the gap. So now we know the union will fit in there, because remember the union will screw in on this side and on this side. So you just want to make sure that you left enough in there to let it expand out and screw into both the male adapters right there. So now we're going to prime the pipe, and we're going to prime the male adapter. Make sure you get a good even coating on there, and then hit the pipe again. Keep it wet. While the primer is still wet, you put your cement on. Now we're going to take the part, insert it on there, and we're going to turn it 90 degrees and hold. They recommend usually about 30 seconds. Okay, now to attach the union, remember, make sure your black gasket's on there. And we're going to screw this side of it onto the male adapter. Appreciable distance onto it there. Now the other piece goes in like this, and let's get him screwed onto place there. Okay, so there's our black gasket in place, but we gotta just make sure our union gets in there. And let's drag this piece over, and let's screw it together. Let's join the two parts of the union. You just make sure it's nice and tight here. And then when you test it with water, you shouldn't see any leakage at all. If you do, then you need to go back to step one again and make sure this is tightened down tight enough so that that black gasket in there is squeezing against the plate on this side. And we just turned on the system, and so far we don't see any leaks coming out of it, which is nice. And we can see the sprinklers have come on, and they're at full power too. Looking pretty good. The only water you're seeing there is just what's coming down from the sprinklers on top of it, but it's doing a great job, man. And this is the way you do it.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.